So I think this is pretty cool. You may be able to see off in the background there, just over this farm, there's a tower, an old tower, and these are quite uncommon, and they're called peel towers. Now these were built in, I think, the 1400s, right across the border between England and Scotland. And the purpose of them really was to send off a warning signal to warn of invaders. Now what's even more interesting is there was actually a people that lived sort of on the borders, and they were just raiders. You know, I suppose they were either English or Scottish, but they didn't discriminate in what nationality they raided, if that makes sense. So if they were on the Scottish side of the border, they would happily raid these Scottish villages and you know, these towers and things like that. But yeah, pretty interesting. Now I have tried to photograph that particular tower many times. It's called Arnside Tower. Well, it's one of those where it's a beautiful subject, but tricky to take an image of. There's only so many vantage points, you know, there's only so many perspectives. Perhaps I should send the drone up one day when there's some really nice conditions, but I'm going to ignore it as a photographic subject this morning. And in today's video, I want to share a few tips of how you can improve your photography. You can become a better photographer without spending any money. So the first thing that you can do to improve as a photographer that is completely free of charge is to study the work of other photographers. This one's brilliant. Obviously you could just do it from the comfort of your own home most of the time, but yeah, if you're just looking at a photographer's photographs on social media, or perhaps you've bought a print, or maybe you might even be in a gallery looking at an image, but we all get that feeling, don't we, of wow, that is an amazing photograph. Take a second, even if you know you get a pen and a notepad, and figure out why. What is it that you like about that photograph? You know, has it got some nice framing? Is it compositionally incredible? How has that particular photographer used the lighting? And this is something that I've done in the past, and it has definitely improved my photography. Now, I'm a landscape photographer, and for the most part, I only really have a passion for photographing landscapes. But if I think for a second, oh, I might dabble in a bit of street photography. Honestly, that's one of the first things that I would do. I would jump on Instagram and social media, and I would find some well-renowned street photographers if I could, you know, and just study their work. Figure out what's making their images work. Have they got incredible lighting? What time of the day are they going out? You know, how are their images framed? Have they got subjects in them? Where is it that they're actually photographing? What gear are they using? Things like that. I would look into it all, and yeah, that is a really good first tip, I think, of how you can become a better photographer without spending any money. So the second tip about getting better at photography without spending any money is practice. Now, I want to go a little bit deeper into this because it's very obvious. We all know if you go out with your camera more, you're going to get better ultimately, and that's true. But I wanted to talk about scouting, and that is what I'm doing today. This is a local woodland. We're in February, but I'm scouting for spring when the woodland starts coming alive a little bit. And honestly, scouting has been some of the best free activities that I've done to become a better photographer, because here's the thing, you can really scout out an area to the point where you've scouted out a photograph, a composition, and you look at that composition and you say, yep, it looks rubbish today, but at some point in the right conditions, it's going to look amazing. And that is such a good feeling when you go back in said incredible conditions and you know exactly where to go, you know exactly where to put your tripod and everything, and you get that incredible photograph. Scouting is something that I personally definitely don't do enough of, and it's a great way to get to know your local area as well. Now, I suppose strictly speaking, it's not free because you might have to pay a few pennies on petrol, but you know what I mean. Now, I have to be honest with you, ladies and gents. I have to be honest with you. I'm not really feeling it today. You know what? This is going to sound like a real fickle reason for my lack of inspiration, but we're getting the kitchen done at home and it's just carnage, man. Well, obviously it's a lovely thing to be getting done, but the work is just stressing me out. So I've almost sort of dragged myself out today and I feel so much better. But as for the photography, I just can't get my head into it. So this could be a video without any photographs. We shall see. Now, Third thing that you could do to become a better photographer that is free of charge is, I've just changed this one at the last second because I felt like it didn't quite make sense. What I was gonna say is the next tip that is free of charge that will make you a better photographer is to join a community, and whether that be online or, you know, a photography club in real life. But I think ultimately what I'm trying to say is find something that inspires you. Find a free source of inspiration. And the reason I didn't want to leave it at join a community is because some of you might not want to. I'm a little bit like that. In fact, I get a lot of my own inspiration from being out on my own, which of course is free of charge. It's not something that you have to pay for, is it? But I'm also inspired by place, locations, the Lake District, Scotland again. Probably not strictly speaking free, because you might have to spend money on petrol, but I hope you understand what I mean. For me, inspiration is king. If I'm feeling inspired, everything just happens. I work hard without realizing it. My photography improves without realizing it. So tip number 3, try and find a source of inspiration that doesn't cost you any money, whatever that is to you. By the way, hopefully you're not inspired by new gear, because that would be far from zero cost, wouldn't it? So I was just thinking, I've done a bit of a mad loop to be honest, but see this kind of little row of silver birch trees here look quite nice, and then we've got some hills right off in the background. The clouds are looking pretty nice. However, I think it's one of them where it's just not quite doing it for me. I think if I was going to be grabbing an image here, I'd be doing it just for the sake of it, you know, and I don't really want to do that. It's just lovely to be, it is lovely to be out and about, but I'm not feeling that inspired. So it's almost like I'm turning it into a proper scouting session where I'm not going to be taking any photographs, or, you know, it's just a walk. It's nice, it's good. So, 4th tip, and then I've got one more, is to set yourself a bit of a challenge. Perhaps that'd be a good idea to do today, wouldn't it? So you could maybe go out and say, right, I'm only going to shoot in black and white, or I'm only going to shoot intimate, or I'm only going to shoot local. I did this during the lockdown. You remember coronavirus? I'm sure you haven't forgot, but yeah, I did it. Well, we couldn't travel too far, so I made a challenge, a personal challenge. I will only photograph within a 10-mile radius of my home. Before I set this challenge, I was feeling so uninspired and horrible, like most of us, and it just sparked my creativity, and it was so good. It was fantastic, and it was getting me out with my camera, you know. And again, that's only going to make you a better photographer. And I think when you set yourself boundaries, you know, and little challenges like that, it helps you to delve into that creativity in your mind and improve your photography, make you a better photographer, right? Like I said, one more tip. I'm going to keep wandering around because I've still got a while to get back to where I've parked the van. And yeah, this last little section here is going to determine whether or not I'm going to be taking any photographs today, or whether you've just joined me on a nice walk this morning. But I'm in. Look at the beautiful views over Morecambe Bay there. Stunning. So I can only apologise, ladies and gents. I'm just feeling so uninspired. In fact, I just posted this on my Instagram page. So good afternoon, ladies and gents. I am feeling uninspired. I've got no inspiration to share with you this afternoon. I've been out this morning in the local area, and I don't really know what it is. Do you ever have those sorts of days where you don't even know why you're feeling uninspired? I mean, the weather's not great. It's pretty dull and not really getting much inspiration from the location, but I don't know. I think in a weird little way, I wanted to share my lack of inspiration, because sometimes I feel like that in itself can actually be quite inspiring. Sometimes, you know, when you're seeing other photographers out and about all the time and they're just buzzing like me and they're excited and everything's going right for them, I also think it's important to share these sorts of moments behind the scenes where I'm just wandering around my local area thinking, what is the point? What am I doing out today? I'm not even taking a photograph. But yeah, there you go. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And yeah, I think that sums it up really. And I mean, it's true what I said in that little clip. I always want to share these moments because, you know, if you're just seeing me happy all the time and winning at photography, let's call it, you might end up feeling down on yourself. I get like this all the time, man. I feel drained and just can't be bothered. Just can't be bothered. I feel so uninspired. But I've got one more tip to share with you, and I really want to get this one in because it's a good one. And that is to find some free editing software to post-process your RAW files. If this isn't something that you're doing already, I'd highly recommend that you give it a go. So there's even some good apps on smartphones. I mean, Snapseed is a good one, really good. I believe it's from Google. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but that's yeah, really good app for editing your photographs. I even quite like just the basic editor when you go onto a photo on the iPhone, and I'm sure Android phones have got the same sort of thing. But yeah, that is definitely going to make your photographs better because, I mean, in my opinion, post-processing is so important. Yeah, if you can do that free of charge, fantastic. But anyway, thank you all so much for tuning in. Please hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed the video. Probably not going to get many of them. And do comment down below. Let other photographers know some other tips for improving their photography without spending any money. That would be fantastic. Thank you all so much for tuning in. As always, I really appreciate you, and I shall see you on the next adventure. Out.